Hello friends, good day to you. Today I'm making a demonstration about using the SS command, which stands for Socket Statistics, to investigate your networks or to debug your TCP connections especially. The SS command is similar to Netstat that or if you have worked in the IT industry, especially in the system administration, maybe you'll be familiar with Netstat. But SS is newer than Netstat. SS is part of the IP route 2 or package or utility, or which are like the newer set of tools for managing networks on Linux systems. The SS command can give more information than Netstat, and at times it can be faster to generate the information. So let's go to the terminal. I have here, I am running on this server or 16.10 version of Ubuntu. But the SS command is available on most of the newer releases of Linux systems or the newer distros like CentOS 7, Fedora 23, Ubuntu 16.04. So you find the SS command there. So let's run the SS command and let's see what it gives us. So ordinarily running the SS command dumps a lot of information on us, and this is too much to even look through. And actually this is not the way you are going to be using the SS command in most of your troubleshooting. You'll be using the SS command in conjunction with the options that it provides, and it actually provides a lot of options or help version. And actually I'll be showing you some of these options that can help you in your troubleshooting. The first option that I will introduce is the dash T. Dash T or dash T, pardon me. Dash T stands for TCP, and it gives us information about TCP connections that are available on the systems. So we can see it gives us the state, receive queue, send queue, the local address port, the local address and port, the peer address and port. The peer address and port refers to the remote server that we are connecting to. So that is a TCP. But with TCP, there's another option that I would like to introduce immediately. That is A. A allow us to actually stands for all. So all TCP. So right now, these are like the whole TCP connections that are available on this system. Or we can pass this to, let's count. So like 18 lines. So we have like 18, maybe aside from the first line, we have about 17 TCP connections available. So let's clear the screen and let's look at the other option we have. The next option that I would like to introduce is dash U. Dash U, if you can guess what that stands for, pardon me for my keyboard, SS-U. Dash U stands for UDP. So we can also use the UDP with the A option, and it gives us all UDP sockets that we have. In most cases, we'll be dealing with TCP, but at times you might need to deal with UDP, especially if you're dealing with DNS connections. The next one that I would like to introduce is the raw socket. So if you are working with raw sockets or you just want to see what raw sockets are available, that is the dash W. The next one that I will introduce is dash X. X for the Unix domain socket. Unix domain socket. So as you can see, There are actually a lot of Unix domain socket on my system, and that is true on most of the servers you're going to be dealing with. Unix domain socket is one of the interprocess communication uh, utility that Linux uses. So a lot of services actually communicate with itself and other services and other aspects of that service on the same server using the Unix domain socket. And you can investigate if you are using a particular Unix domain socket, you can investigate it using the dash X option. So let's proceed. Another one available is dash D. So dash D stands for DHCP. So in the case that you are working with a DHCP, you want to investigate your DHCP uh, messages, you can use the dash D options. The next one I would like to introduce, which is actually very important, is the dash P. The dash P option can be used with any of the options that I described earlier. So it can be used with any of the above options here. And it stands for process. So I can use it with especially dash T P. And what information can I see? It tells me the service and the process ID and the file descriptor of the service that is using the socket. So you see, this is a SSH connection. So it tells me this is SSH, the process ID is this, the file descriptor is 3. So you see how useful that is. So if you run into a situation whereby you try to start a service and you get an error that, oh, this port is already used. So you can use the dash P option and look for that for the process ID of the process that is using that port. So maybe you may want to kill it or change the port number. So let's proceed. I'll introduce the 4 and 6. So the 4 and 6 option actually stand for IPv4 and IPv6. So in this case, I want to see only the IPv4. I want to see only the IPv4 sockets. So if I run that again, IPv4 socket, and I can also use the 6. In this case, I want to see IPv6 sockets. I don't have any, but I can use this with introduce the dash A. So with the A option, I see all IPv6 sockets that I have. So there are some situations whereby you are looking for a port under IPv4, you cannot find it. You might also want to check on the IPv6 because at times the port might be attached to to an IPv6 socket. So and by the way, quickly, and I don't know, it just let me just inform you in case you don't know what a socket looks like. So a socket, you usually see IP address colon the port number. So this is mostly how a TCP socket will consist of the source IP address, source port number, remote IP address, or remote port number. So let me quickly introduce you to one other option, which is the N option. The N option allows you to, so for example, I run ss-tan. So now I see all the port number instead of saying, so if I run it without the N option, you see here I have SSH, but in above I have port 22. So it allows me to see the port number rather than saying the service name. So let's proceed. Let's proceed to state. So the state is actually very useful, especially if you are dealing with TCP. So for example, if I want to see the socket that are that have the established state, I can type ss-state. But that's a lot of information. Let us narrow it down to TCP socket. So by using the dash T, you see. So these are the my ports, my sockets that are in the established state. So if you are not familiar with the TCP states or the TCP finite state machine, TCP can be in a lot of states. It can be in the established or scene sent, scene receive, fin wait 1, fin wait 2, time wait, closed, close wait. So TCP can be in a lot of this, in any of this state at any particular point in time. So for example, I can check if I have any close wait state on my system. So you see, I have two sockets that are in a close wait state. So if I'm investigating my maybe my systems, I may want to know the reason why this socket are in the close wait. If I have a lot of close wait or sockets, that might be trouble for me. So let's proceed. So let's introduce dash L. L stands for listening. Listening means, so let me use it with T. So listening means the ports that are open, that are waiting to service a particular client. They are listening, they are waiting. Like a web server. A web server waits for HTTP connections. So I have ports that are waiting to service. So I have a port attached to 127.0.1.1 or colon 53, and I have a port attached to 22. So for your information, if you see a port that has star and colon and the port number, the star indicates that this port is listening on all the interfaces on your system. But if there's a specific IP address before the colon, that means this port is only listening on this IP address. So that may be important to you. So right now my port 22 is listening on all my network interfaces. So that may also be important to you. So the other option that I would like to introduce is dash O. Dash O stands for, or dash O helps you to get timer information specifically. So if you want to get some timer information about your TCP connection, you can use with the dash O. So you see information about keep alive. So let's proceed. Another option that I want to introduce is if you need to filter your output. So for example, let's say I only want to see TCP socket with destination 443. I want to see TCP socket that are trying to access the 443, or that's the HTTPS. So this gives me the output. So my HTTP, this socket is actually in a closed wait state. So this indicates that the kernel is actually all waiting for waiting for my system to close this socket. So I can also look for the ones with destination 22. So destination 22, or that is SSH connections. So let me include the N. So you see they are trying to, they are connected to a remote SSH server. So I have three outgoing SSH connections, and I can reverse it and look for the one with source port 22. So I have two incoming SSH connections into my server. So that may become important to you. Another way to do this can be if you use a like source port equals to SSH. If you do something like this, it gives me the same output um like the one I had above. So that is another example that you should keep in mind. So let's look at what other options are there. So another option is actually the dash I. The dash I uh, is important if you need to. Uh, Let me use this with the option I had above. So let's say I'm using the dash I with this. So it gives, what this gives me is it gives me information about the TCP uh, parameters. So if you need to know more about, if you need to know details about your TCP or connection, for example, you get things like the window scaling or the round trip time or the maximum segment size, congestion window, the bytes acknowledged, bytes received. So you see, this is a good way to get more details about a particular or TCP connection. So if you are familiar with the how TCP establish its state and the various uh, messages and parameters and options of TCP, so you can see some of them here. So another option is the dash S. So dash S is for summary. You want to make a summary of of the socket on your system. So for example, it says there are total of 1048 sockets. So out of those, there are 18 TCPs. So and it gives a breakdown of those of sockets. So this is a way to get like a snapshot of how many sockets are available. So one thing you find out that a lot of these sockets are Unix domain sockets because a lot of service use Unix domain sockets for interprocess communication. So there you find a lot of them on your system. So what else can we see? So one thing that I can also show you is the man page for this command. You can look at the man page. So it says SS another utility to investigate sockets. So it says it is similar to Netstat. It can display more TCP states information than other tools. So that is SS. So if you go down a little bit to the bottom of the page, it actually gives us some other examples. So there's examples of displaying all TCP connections, all TCP sockets, like I showed you, or this display all TCP connection with SLinux security contests. So if you're familiar with SLinux, especially on on Red Hat based systems, this display all UDP sockets. This display established no socket with destination port SSH or source port SSH. So this is for Unix domain socket, and this looks for socket with state of fin with one. So this is so so this so any of these can be very I mean, you can do a lot of even more complex filtering of the output. So this gives you option of how to filter the output, filter based on HTTP, HTTPS, and the destination of this. So this gives you um, more ways to filter your output. So I think that is all I have to demonstrate in this video. I hope you find it more interesting and useful. The man pages is available for you to look for more examples. I hope it helps you. Thank you for watching. Bye.